Welcome back to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. And today we are expanding our capacity to feel. We are in this cocoon of soft, safe love and expression and expansion. And we're all in a very vulnerable, sensitive, but empowered place because we just literally are fresh out of a beautiful breathwork session. And I've done something new this time where I've said, is it okay if we record your shares about your experience with the breathwork? And I've got kind of a general yes. And if people don't want to share, they don't have to. And they can turn off their camera and go away and come back and whatever they need to do to take care of themselves. But for the people who are like, yes, I'm ready, I want to share this.
I really enjoyed today's breath work, especially the primal scream element. It was really interesting, actually. What I found was when I was doing the primal scream, it was this pitch that I've never done before. It was quite high. When it finished, I did notice I've been feeling a lot of tension in my forehead and in the back of my neck. And it did feel like that tension was starting to dissipate. The more and more that we moved through, I definitely felt a lot stronger at the end than I did at the beginning.
You and I had an episode here on this podcast where we did some breath work first, and you shared all about rebirthing, going through the birth of your twins, right?
Yeah.
Again, and giving yourself the birth that you wish you had had.
Yes.
And that was so incredibly powerful. So if you guys feel like listening to that, you can go back some Kapila's episode. It was incredible. And every experience of breathwork is completely unique and different and meets us exactly where we are. And it doesn't have to be watershed, but I feel like it's perfect that you had that scream that you had. Thank you so much for sharing that.
It's a really vulnerable share, so I apologize if it takes me some time to get out. I honestly wasn't expecting today's breath work to hit me very deeply just because of where I feel like I'm at right now with, a lot of stress and things going on. So for some reason, I just expected to not fully drop in. And maybe because I knew that we were doing the panel afterwards and it was like a whole group setting.
Yeah, for sure.
But what came up for me, it hit me instantaneously, which was wonderful. It's kind of going along with this theme, it seems, for everyone else around birth. I had a miscarriage in May and told you it was going to be
It's
a hard
okay.
one.
Yeah. Take
Um,
take your time.
um, it's been a process. It was a pregnancy that I wasn't expecting or planning. And it really took me by surprise. And I've spent the last few months really working on myself as a human. Siri and I actually recorded a podcast as well, in which we went through a lot of my childhood traumas and past and what led me to who and where I am right now. I also did a really powerful plant medicine journey a couple months ago, and I explored the miscarriage and I explored birth, and my childhood trauma has led me up until this point in my life thinking that I didn't want kids. And then the miscarriage was kind of my slap to the face of like, oh, I think I might actually want this. So my experience today was a really profound desire and also a feeling of wholeness within myself that felt really validating, knowing that number one, I've done a lot of really great work and I am feeling whole within me, just within myself and who I am, and knowing that I trust and love myself, which has taken a really long time to get to. So feeling that wholeness felt wonderful. And I also felt an incredible longing and desire. And, I felt this warmth, like literally like in my womb for what I wanted and desire to happen next,
Wow.
which was just a really incredible feeling. And I released a lot that I didn't know that I needed to release. And my primal screaming was a really incredible mix between like sadness and longing, but also this like joy, innate sort of joy. It was a sound I've never felt or heard myself make before. So thank you.
Hmm. Thank you. What a gift, Marnie, to have you share so transparently about something that so many women, including my mom, went through and have gone through and that don't feel comfortable sharing. And the more that we can give voice to the parts that we feel like are supposed to be private, the more we all heal. And so you've done that not just for this room, but for the people listening. And it's a big gift. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I love the warmth in your belly. You're so welcome. I love the warmth in your belly and the joy and the fact that you and Som had these experiences of your voice that you hadn't had before. It's so cool. And it's all you. It's the work and you get to do this anytime you want to. It's all just you.
Thank you, Siri. I have done a session with you before and had a out of body experience. And this time I was like, can we stay in the body and see what's happening? I wanted to be with me instead of like, I love to go to outer space and dream and visualize. And today I was like, let's just be with where we are right now. And two things have stood out. One is I have three daughters. They're 5, 8, and 10. And so when you played the song about slowing down and then asked us to breathe into the back of our heart. So I am a forward facing chakra practitioner, but as it happens, it actually goes out the back as well. But I haven't been willing to go there. And today was the first time you invited me into the back of my shoulders and into the back of my heart, and all that was happening at the same time. And so I just had this beautiful release into the idea that, hey, sis, it's time to slow down. Like there's no other time. It's now. And we can cry and let go and release. And then came through that with a firm resolution to slow down, to slow down. The second thing is I'm taking a course using the alchemy of emotions to create more space and manifestation. And so I recently accessed the deep well of my own rage. And so I'm glad I had practice with that before this because there was so much more that came out that I was sort of expecting, but also not. And I just was completely welcoming it. Like, yes, we're going to be pissed about that and mad about that. We're going to punch the pillow. We're going to scream as loud as we can. And felt like I had permission to welcome and express it all. My intention at the beginning was for spaciousness and fait accompli. So thank you
Mm.
for creating that space for me to just be with me for that sacred time.
Mm. I love it, Dana. Thank you for articulating that so well. I love that you're working with emotions. I love that you're honoring the rage. And I love that you're just like getting jiggy with yourself and just being with yourself in your body and that you accomplish the intention that you set out for. Because I think like we can always do that. If we set it at the beginning, we always get to have that ability to get to have what I set out for. Okay.
Mine was weird. I laid down and I felt this like kind of weird, like my throat wouldn't rest, wouldn't, it was very strange. And I literally cried for half an hour,
Great.
like down my ears, down here. I had to redo.
Totally.
It
Yeah.
was, I did not expect it. I mean, this year has been, I'll try to not use F-bombs.
You can.
A fucking disaster. I'll just and a lot of like unraveling and loss and death. And it just came out. And then when the songs got a little peppier, there was some very weird dancing.
I love it. I love it.
I have neck injuries and had some surgeries, and this one shoulder I kept like cranking on it, and honestly, it feels better.
Nice. I love that you just trusted your, I mean, I'm hearing a theme of everyone just
Oh, same.
trusting their body, trusting their voice, trusting the weirdness and just going with it. Like, I don't care if this is weird. I'm gonna move the way I've never moved before, or I'm gonna scream the way I've never screamed before. I think it's amazing. And yeah, full permission to just cry the entire breath work, right? Like, good on you. All right.
I just
Oh,
wanted to thank you for creating this space because I don't usually give this to myself.
you're
You
so
know,
welcome.
to have somebody tell me to stop for a minute and stop doing. I'm a doer. Got to do something. Got to create something. Got to.
I can
And
see how creative you are.
so yeah, my paintings are in the background. I just wanted to say thank you, and I wanted to thank all the women here because each thing that everybody said was so impactful and so meaningful. And thank you for sharing because your vulnerability really moved me.
Hmm. Thank you for
So
that.
thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. What a surprise gift.
This week, it became really clear to me that a friendship had run its course. And I've been just sitting with that and thinking through my participation and what was just the natural cycle of our friendship, just it was time for it to end and what was my part in it. During this breath work, I was prompted to do an unplugging, yeah, of her from me. And it was just a very sweet time to be just like, okay, I'm just going to return your energy to you and heal that spot where you plugged in and just release that and let it go where it's going to go.
I'm glad you got that completion for yourself. Making our own break and conclusions with certain relationships are very, very natural and normal. And we judge ourselves for when those breaks need to happen because, oh, we should be friends. We should be able to be friends with everyone forever. And it's actually not true. That we're not meant to. When we are grow seekers, evolvers, truth tellers like we are, we're not always going to stay with other people that are growing like this. And it's beautiful that you gave that to yourself. And I think the more we can forgive ourselves for the times when it's time to move on, the better we can all heal and just keep growing and expanding into the next iteration of what the next friendship is going to get to be. So you made space for the next friendship. That's amazing. I love it. Thank you, Ellen.
I just wanted to emphasize what somebody else was saying about being given permission. Like we can tell ourselves, oh, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. But I think sometimes when there's an external voice, especially if it's one as beautiful and clear as yours, Siri, giving us permission to just take the time, it's very powerful. And I really felt that today. So thank you for that. And full disclosure, I agree, this year has been a shitstorm. I haven't encountered anyone who hasn't had a global or a personal experience of some kind of loss, disillusionment. I personally have had a really difficult summer working, and my colleagues, it's a bizarre mixture of incredible strength and love with the women I work with, and a couple of extremely toxic men who have just been creating a vortex of toxicity within a group that I've never experienced anything like this before. So 2025 has just been like, what the actual going on?
Yeah.
And the primal scream was fabulous. Like Som, mine was so high pitched, I deafened myself. It was like I shot a gun and I couldn't hear anything. And I did it twice. I was like, what am I doing? But it was fabulous. And I needed to do some of that. I actually had a moment during the show I perform in a quick change area with 3 other women. We instinctively started doing this one night because just in the middle of the show, we would have to get changed, a costume change.
Just so people know, it's your Rod Stewart's performance, right? Yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in a middle of a show and we're getting changed in this little tent, and there's a B3 organ on stage, and they sometimes plant the Leslie cabinet, which is the amplifier for the organ, very close to the quick change because there's no room anywhere else. So one night when I was just off my head with rage, I'm I've got my dress on, and I just started screaming, and the other three just joined in, and this became a regular thing. So
Ah,
I'm all for group primal screaming sessions, and we had the padding of this giant Leslie cabinet with this big B3 sound coming through it, and it was just glorious. So that got the ball rolling for me. But this was a really beautiful space to have, and to be able to do more releasing of the crap that's just,
yes.
just,
Oh, I love you turned it into a ritual.
yeah, it definitely was.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I can only imagine the energy that you work through. We did a whole episode about your life as a musician with Rod Stewart and like what that is and not being on the road and but just the energy of those crowds and the energy of the family unit of musicians, which
Yeah,
yeah, gets real. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I just want to chime into what Julia's talking about because you create such a safe space. Doing the primal scream feels easier. You feel protected while you're doing it. And today, especially, I felt the most protected I've ever been in the workshop. Echoing Julia's sentiments, thank you for creating that because I've definitely never done as much screaming as I did today. And I'm also now going, why don't I do as much screaming as that? I do the
Yes.
silent scream a lot. I do that on set. I do that a lot to reground. And it's funny, I've had similar experiences to Julia as well with toxic people. Oh, and I've lost grounding through that. And it's taken me a really long time to get it back. And so it's been so beneficial to come back to this work and find a way to reground and regroup myself, but have had similar experiences where my center's been shaken because we're dealing with this poison that just kind of just takes over and you lose yourself in that. And it's so important to then know, okay, how can I, in my trailer or in my dressing room or in my cupboard that I'm getting changed, find a way to reground myself and not let this affect me, affect the people around me, and move forward. It's something I'm still learning to do. And I'm now learning as well, which is why this work is so powerful. Breath work is so powerful on the spot, in the place that you're at. Primal screaming, like Julia said she'd done in the middle of a show. It really is very transformative. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And I hope that you take that permission and that safety that you felt and continue to find creative ways to give that to yourself. What I'm hearing is it is just taking responsibility for ourselves. When we don't take responsibility for our rage and our feelings, that's when we have issues in the world and in our families and in our communities, which we're seeing. And so what we're talking about is owning our rage, owning our power, owning our fear, owning our anguish, like owning our grief, and then being responsible with it in ways that we can channel it because it's all just energy and it's all just needing to be moved, whether we're going to move it out of our shoulder or we're going to move it out of our neck or we're going to stay in our body and open the back of our heart or open the back of our shoulders or let it in or decide this relationship, this girlfriendship doesn't work anymore. So it's okay. I'm going to consciously stop this dynamic. That is us taking responsibility and then feeling all the feels of the loss that I'm sure all of us have had our own individual losses and our collective losses over the past year. I love that we're taking inventory through this process. At this point, loving the spontaneity. All the panels are so scripted, and I'm just kind of loving this. So the heart of it is still here.
I'm resonating so deeply and so fully with everything that has been shared. Something that's really popped, though, Ellen, when you were speaking about the completion of a friendship and what that process is and can be like, the sort of the metaphoric closing of a door, and Siri, as you introduced the implications of a path forward that can open up simultaneously. It's so powerful. I'm on the brink of I haven't told anyone this. I'm going to say it. Is this part of the panel? This is really going on the thing, right? It's fun.
This
I
is
just don't.
it, Robin.
This is it. Is this it? Is this it? I'm from the East Coast, and I've been in Hollywood for 26 years. And the reason I ask is anyone listening, because I haven't told this, my agents, my managers, my representatives.
Have you told your husband?
Yes, yes, he knows. He's in the next room.
Okay,
He knows
okay.
all about it. I am complete with California.
Wow.
And this has been something that has been at times a shocking, almost septic, scary, sort of gripping fear that arises when I think about that in like real time.
Yeah.
But when I open myself to the possibility of possibilities of what that really means, I weep for gratitude and joy that I've kept the channels open such that I can listen, get quiet enough to listen and recognize the windows, the doors, the avenues that are already lit before me, so blazingly bright, it takes my breath away. This is a major torsion. It's not just about being complete with show business. It's the contracts that I signed embodying as a human being, the contracts with angels that we sign when we come forth in physical form. I see and feel that I have fulfilled upon those contracts here in Los Angeles, in Hollywood.
Wow.
And it's been really hard, and these have been really grueling, some incredibly glorious, miraculous, and also on the flip side, in the muck and the rake and the gruel and the thickness and the darkness. I was speaking recently to Peyton Hughes about how we embody as angels or archangels, and I really just realized that me being here wasn't just about giving light through storytelling. It wasn't just about giving light. This panel alone, the light that is being radiated blows my hair back, right? We give light. We can do that in Hawaii, Saudi Arabia, here in Hollywood. But I think my assignment was to go to a place where there was a lot of darkness and be a light in a place where there was actually a lot of darkness and rape and pillaging. And that's not hyperbole when you think about the hashtag Me Too movements.
Sure.
So, and echoes of Julia, what you were sharing about recently. So it was amazing and really hard to be that light
Sure.
in these dark crevices and corners here.
Yeah.
It is the storytelling that saved me, because that's all about shared humanity and digging up other people's humanity. And that's glorious. But I have never been at home here. And it was hard to sign off on these contracts, where I would go in the blackest parts of the night where the most gruesome things were happening. And oft times for women in particular. I feel we've gotten it done with the help of earth angels like you and all of you on this panel, and Siri and the archangels, and the endowment that I have felt and the lantern that I have carried forth. I am passing that off to the next generation, my students, the people that I teach and work with. And I am so excited for what is ahead, of which I'm not crystal clear, but fully in divine trust and faith, holy faith, that now my soul gets to speak in a iteration of me that I haven't yet met here on earth. So thank you for letting
Wow,
me share that.
Robin. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. I'm so excited. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal. Because I could
Yeah.
see you living your whole life in Los Angeles and just kind of grinding it out and never like really giving yourself what you needed.
Hmm.
So it sounds like you're really opening the door to, and there's some question marks, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
love it.
When I'm in my right mind, it's exciting. And when I'm in my ego brain, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And my parents and all the earthlings around me that know and love me, they're like, "What are you doing
Yeah.
moving back to Maryland?"
Yes. Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
That's glorious. I'm so excited for you. I can't
Thank
wait to
you.
talk to you more about this.
Yeah,
I'll be right here with you the whole transition,
you
okay?
always are. You
I
always
will.
are, Siri. Thank
I
you.
will.
Thank you. Blessings.
Sarah, you've
Thank
been
you.
doing an opting out of urgency launch, which has garnered a lot of people ready to opt out of urgency. How's it going having such an expansive launch? How does that feel?
Hmm, that's a great question. Thank you, Siri. It pendulates. There are a lot of times where I'm like, wow, I'm 20 years into this area, into this field. And so it's like, yeah, of course, like I'm here for it. This is my work. And I feel so clear and I feel so grateful to feel so clear. And then there are every now and then these other swings of where like performance might come up or like, am I gonna, yeah, like how I'm going to do. And what's really helpful is to come back to my why. What is the service? What is the point to begin with?
Yeah.
And it is a constant call back to what really matters. And I imagine just like doing this breath work. So I was on some lives that would have overlapped with it. But instead of coming right back to my computer and doing all the things that are still left to do and preparing all the like extra emails and the workbook for the actual course, it's like, oh, now I'm gonna go walk my dog, right? That what's been really beautiful in prepping for opting out of urgency is to see where my own urgency comes up,
Mm-hmm.
and that every single time that I can pattern interrupt
Yeah.
and do something that is nourishing to my soul, nourishing to my body, the things that seemed wildly overwhelming, or as Robin just said, when the ego brain gets in there, right? And or just like the nervous system gets and then it goes into something between a freeze, an overwhelm, a fog. And when I treat myself to breath work, when I treat myself to a walk, when I comb the burrs out of my dog's fur after he runs through the woods, all of those things help me come back to myself. And every time I come back to myself, when I come back to my computer or come back to my work, it's no longer confusing. And the to-dos don't feel overwhelming. It's just like, oh, here's the next thing I'm going to do. And I'm just going to say no to these things. And
Yeah.
so it's been a really beautiful, the process in itself has been the medicine. And I feel so grateful that even leading up to the launch, it hasn't been like, once the launch is over, then I'm going to enjoy myself. More like this, like I am in the mystery school
Mm-hmm.
of being in something that, yeah, has thousands of people are signed up.
Yeah.
It's the biggest launch I've ever done.
Yeah.
But can I just keep coming back to my center and my presence and trust in that?
Yeah.
So
And
that's been the process.
so when you see that over 1,000 people or 1,200 or what's it up to now?
2100.
Okay, when you see 2,100 people are opting out of urgency with you, my question is, how do you create the expansiveness within yourself to be there for that? Or has it already been created through all of these little micro practices?
I think it's been created.
Yeah.
And I think if I get into the thought that it's my job, like, yes, I'm creating a field, but I've done some somatic work with my coach too of visioning into it. And I see it as a fascial web. And at some point, I step myself outside of it. And then I put myself in the middle and I felt the rays of light coming up through the bottom and down through the top and going out. And then it was really clear like, yes, my presence is going to have an effect on those around me, but also everybody has their own toroidal field, everybody has their own process. And can I give a little bit of an esoteric vision that I had?
Sure.
So this is probably a bit what happens in breath work when visions come through. And I saw the word urgency was coming in to this Greek cathedral on a pedestal, on like a really solid pedestal. And it was up high and it had this energy of being the king. And everybody in the cathedral was bowed down to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so much because we're not opting into urgency on purpose. There is often this thing in our nervous systems that is just bowed down to this feeling of like, we must, I must do this thing. I have to do this thing or I won't survive and I'll get rewarded. And it feels like, will I survive?
Yeah.
And it's not our fault. It's the conditions of the quote unquote kingdom, right? And so when we opt out, there was one woman who stood up in the crowd and looked up to urgency. And urgency gave her the death stare. And it was so much for her to be resourced on her own. And my mentor said, what layers of support can you bring in? And the person on the ground reached up to her and held her hand. And then the other person reached up and held her hand. And instead of everybody standing up like you see in the movies, she came down into their arms. And then they started facing each other instead of facing urgency. And as people started facing each other and coming into presence with one another and into presence with community, all of their backs started turning to urgency, in that all of their energy started going to each other and the urgency started fading away a bit. And so, what this is saying is that we get to notice it first and have recognition there's urgency for that pattern interrupt. But then where do we resource ourselves and is it possible to spend any more curiosity or any more time on the things that light us up, on the people that matter, on the present moments? And I know it's like way easier. Our system, our nervous system will literally say, that's not possible for me. You don't understand my circumstance. And so in this work, we look for like the 1 degree, that 1% chance even, that we could put a tiny little wedge in that and like breathe, take in a breath,
Yeah.
drop our heels strong onto the ground, have that primal scream, anything that gives us that 1 second where we're like, okay, wait, I have a micro choice here.
Yeah.
So
I
this
love
has been
that.
the practice. And even in that, so going back to the 10,000 people, was like, it was never on one person to stare down urgency, right? It's all of us. It's like every person showing up. The phrase itself, opting out of urgency, is medicine. And so whether or not they sign up for my program afterwards, it's like, oh, I think many of us are like, yeah, we're ready to break this system and we need each other. We really need each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yesterday, I went to Marne's restaurant Bastion in Portland and spent 3 hours with a girlfriend, and I never do that. Like, I always am just like, I'm too busy, da da da. I took my time. We had a mushroom hot chocolate in the beginning and then a chai turmeric at the end. Like, went for a walk, found a teapot in a box on the road. It was amazing. It said like friendship and love. Like I gave it to Marne as a gift. Oh, and then the medicine of 3 hour breakfast turning into lunch, like, oh, that actually accomplished everything that I thought all the phone shit was gonna accomplish.
Yeah. Yeah. I have done that throughout the launch where my parents are like, we're going to be passing through town. Can you do lunch? I'm like, oh, it's the middle of the, I'm like, wait, this is literally the most important thing in my life. Not the launch, my parents, right? I'm fortunate enough to have a relationship where I want to see them. And same thing with friends, where it's in the calendar. So a beauty of opting out of urgency is I can have agency within my urgency. So I can say, oh, I do have this timeline and I do care about this project. So I'm not like throwing it all to the side.
Mm-hmm.
But I have also had these times where, no, I am going to spend this afternoon with my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it matters, that led to like the person who redid my whole website and gave me the virtual assets for the launch. Like I didn't plan for it. I was just going to hang
Yeah.
out with my friend. And it's not unusual that these other things may come from it, even if it's just your own sense of feeling connected and back in your body.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because that's really what we're seeking with thinking all the busy work is going to get us there. Is like we're really just seeking that sense of connection with our soulmates, like we have today.
And
So
there's no there. There's like no there there. My to-do list has literally never been fully checked off before.
and
And
it
I wake up
never,
the next
yeah, it
day
never will.
and there are more to do. So if I'm always wait, because this has been the trick, I'm always like, okay, when I get all the things done, that's going to soothe this anxious feeling so
Mm-hmm.
that then I can do something that feels good. But I
Yeah.
found like, oh, if I just take a 20-minute bath and I feel good first, that list clarifies and I feel better. Like it's just, it is breaking a system and I'm in awe every time. I'm like, what? Oh my God, it worked again. It's like magic. And so,
Yeah, and
anyway.
it builds upon itself. All this nervous system work. I want to come back to Tosca. Tosca, you're a Wall Street survivor and former tech executive who climbed the corporate ladder only to realize corporations could not sustain, quotes, people first leadership. So she now helps women over 40 leave corporate jobs, master the tech and mindset hurdles of entrepreneurship, and launch their dream business. She's also an author, podcast host, and speaker. I had questions for you prepared,
Mhm.
but I love this just being here present. And so, Tosca, I just want to ask you what's on your heart right now in terms of the theme of expanding our capacity to feel?
Oh, wow. Okay.
It could be just a sliver of anything. You don't have to solve the world's problems right
I,
now.
since you did mention my Wall Street background,
Yeah.
feeling is not welcome or supported
Yeah.
in corporate America for the most part, and really not much at all on Wall Street. And we learn in corporate America to kind of stuff down how we actually feel. In fact, we have to do it to succeed.
Mhm.
And we have to suppress a certain level of caring. I got to a certain executive level and it was made very clear to me that my approach was not going to get me to the next level and that I was allowing certain people to do certain things that people didn't think were great. And so capacity to feel, I think is an interesting question because so much of what we do in life is designed to stop that. As women, as managers, as people in this community, it's confronting our feelings is a difficult thing. And as evidenced by what I went through in the breath work today, I didn't know I was feeling that still. I didn't know that those things were still there. And I'm more in touch maybe than I used to be with some of that stuff. We kind of numb ourselves to get through life in some ways because, whether you're with a partner you can't leave. At one point, I had that situation. I no longer have that, or a job you can't quit because of the finances. It's a constant struggle as humans to let that be the appropriate amount of feeling
Yeah.
in the right circumstances. It's not maybe the most wise answer, but I think that that's where I am right now. I'm kind of like,
Mhm.
is this okay to say these things still? How much of this should I still be angry even though I left 2 years ago? Is that helpful? Do people want to hear that, or do I want to move past that and have these other feelings? So I don't really have a resolution on that, I'll just say.
Yeah, I think when you have situations that repress you and don't give you the ability to honor your feelings, which is our conditioning just in general,
Yeah.
that it can take years and years and years and years to unravel that. And I don't think we ever stop learning how to process and learning how to honor what we're feeling. And I think that conditioning is so completely like has such a stronghold in corporate America, specifically Wall Street, that there's extra unraveling that
Yeah.
is really exciting because I know, Tosca, you're paving and you've been paving, and I'm sure you'll continue to pave the pathways for people to be human within a corporate structure and how to honor the human.
I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah. And that's all we can do is like one moment at a time. And so, Dana, I know you have a heart out, so I want to let you go next, and let me find your bio here. So, where is it? Oh,
I
girl.
feel like after that breathwork session, it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm
Okay,
just,
good. You just talk then.
right?
You just tell us about girls
None
who
of that,
recover.
none of that even matters. I just realized I'm like, how many masks can we wear in one sentence is the real question, right?
How many labels
Right?
can we put on this fantastic human?
Yes, yes. Well, I feel really blown away and grateful at the same time. And that is actually a new learning is like, actually, you can feel more than one thing all at once and welcome all of them to create space in your presence. And so, yes, my work in the world is Girls Who Recover. And it started 16 years ago. I mean, it probably started 44 years ago when I came into the world this round. But specifically, the creation energy started when I got sober in 2009. And what I realized was there's a whole lot more to sobriety. There's total transformation and recovery. What I noticed is that women, specifically, years and years even into sobriety or recovery, still were undervaluing, underperforming. And what I mean by that is like not on their own assignment. Robin used that language, and that's exactly what I believe is that we have a very clear assignment here, and not necessarily being limited to women in recovery. So as I expanded the purview, it's like, oh, there are a lot of us that are off assignment right now, which results in this really big separation, this idea that we're separate, we're different. Some of the most beautiful moments have been just watching women in the room nod when each of you spoke. And so the podcast is an opportunity for women to share about their setbacks in detail, the gnarly, gritty details, because we don't say yes until it's as specific as our experience. We don't say me too until the detail matches the frequency of ours. And then the conversation about what the transformation to comeback looks like. Comeback normally means I remember who the hell I am and what I'm here to do. And I'm going to be terrified and brave in the same moment to take that first step to remember her and then act out of reverence to her. So that's really big. That's what the conversations on the podcast are about. And I get to hold space one on one for women who are on the precipice of that kind of breakthrough. And that looks very different for every woman. So I think my question was about how do we redefine success? How does recovery contribute to feeling? And so I just saw it from my own experience is that I wasn't, as a woman, taught to feel. I have an incredibly badass mom who became badass in my eyes by not feeling and instead doing as hard as she could do and working as hard as she could work. So when it came time for me to feel my own feelings, I take this very seriously because I'm a mom of three girls, as I mentioned. I had no idea. And so I didn't. And so I didn't. And so I didn't. And for my experience, which is not uncommon, that resulted in words like anxiety and depression and eating disorders and disordered living because of this separation between me and my own emotions. And so that has expanded, and there's been layer after layer. And every time I'm like, wait, there's more. Like, what? Can we please let it be okay? But even today, there was just this access of, man, I still have so much rage. There's so much rage. And my experience is that's good news because when I welcome it, express it, there's more space to be on my own assignment. And like Robin said, it drops in. The next step is always made clear. I'm unconcerned about what it's going to look like 6 weeks or months from now. The question is, can I be really present in the moment with you? Because that's the assignment today.
Beautiful. I love that, Dana. Thank you so much. I love the transparency that you guys are and the vulnerability you guys are showing up with and saying, like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm processing it. I might always be processing this rage, and I'm also like aware of the need for it. I'm aware of what is the contrast of it because I think we need the places where we weren't recovered, or the places where we were in abuse, or we were in constriction, we were in environments that were toxic, that Robin was talking about, so that we can understand what's not that. And oftentimes for me, it's easy to be like, all that was, oh, if I could only just go back and understand boundaries. If I could only just go back and understand advocating for myself, and that I didn't need to explain it so much, I could just know it. Like, God, that would be amazing. And it's like, but I know it now. And she was doing what her school then.
Mhm.
And when we know better, we do better. And there was purposes to all of those amalgamations, the victim aspect of us and the part that didn't know how to create boundaries. And there's room for all of it. And I have this plaque on my wall. It says there's gold in every piece of your story.
Mhm.
And there's gold in every piece of our recovery. And we're liberating the children through this work that we're doing, this conversation that we're having, and the conversations we continue to have every day. It's beautiful.
One last thing
Yeah.
for that, Siri, is sending that part of me who felt like I needed to overachieve. I don't want to be in the teaching in the school. I want to run the school, or I want to have that advanced degree, or I want to make this figures, believing that that thing would make me feel whole or connected, and loving that part, realizing like, actually, no, but I'm so glad you attempted that, because now we can get to the real business, and letting that part of me
Yes.
go with love.
Oh my God, yes. I think probably most of us here are overachievers.
Girl.
Ellen, I want to give you an opportunity to share again. Intuitive coach who uses astrology, tarot, Reiki, and other modalities to support clients in moving through major life changes.
Mhm.
How can intuitive tools create space to feel more deeply during times of change?
Well, I feel like that, these are tools for self-empowerment. And when you know yourself better, you can tap your gifts, channel that overachiever girl in the place where she's going to get the most traction and not where there's going to be the most challenge, and help you kind of lean into some radical self-acceptance of, okay, this is where I'm really gifted and this is where maybe I'm not so gifted. It allows you to have grace for others as well, because they're expressing their gifts and at their part in the cycle. And I feel like with astrology, it's a lot about the cycles, and it's about your birth chart is kind of a snapshot of what was going on at the time you were born. And it shows you where there's maybe friction, and friction is good. And it's also too much friction can burn your house down, but the world keeps turning as you go. And those are the transits. As those transits keep happening, those are different things that can be impacting your life. You might have heard about your Saturn return. That's your late 20s and your late 50s. And I'm looking at my second Saturn return.
Mhm.
And that's a cycle everybody goes through, but they experience it differently based on where it is in your chart. And there's a bunch of midlife transits that happen before that too, like your Chiron return. Mine kicked my ass completely. And if you can kind of meet those other midlife big transits and lean into the lessons and lean into the growth, and by the time you get to your Saturn one, you're like, okay, this is just change. I know where I'm going. I can see where I've been and what I want to keep with me and take forward. One of the big things in your birth chart is where your moon is,
Mhm.
can help you really know how to nurture yourself, because
Mhm.
that's where you support yourself. That's your internal life. I have a Pisces moon. I know that things around spirituality, being around water and those kinds of things. So when I'm feeling super maxed out and super at the edge of everything's burning down around me, I
Mhm.
can come back to that moon and nourish myself. And then I can look at my chart and say, okay, this is this transit and it's not going to be that long. I can get through it. And then here's the gift that I can bring in to that at the time. It's kind of like the weather report. If you know it's raining outside, you know to bring your umbrella and your coat. But if you don't
Yeah.
realize that, then you're going to just get drenched. So, like using tarot, you can use it daily as a centering practice to help you navigate through those changes of this is what's available to me today. Anytime you're dealing with major life change, you just have to look at what's in front of you and have an idea of where you want to go, but really you just have to take each moment and each day as it comes. So if you can pull a card for the day that's like, okay, this is how I can meet this day with love, and pull whatever card that is. And then if you want to find somebody who can help you with a bigger reading, like we just did one for Siri for her birthday, and that was super fun. That tells you like, what's the landscape? What am I looking at? And where can I lean into some gifts, and where can I have more
Really,
self-awareness?
I really took in our reading and it's been integrating and this whole shedding process of what's ready to be set down and the good
Mm-hmm.
girl. The good girl, why good girls burn out. I wrote a whole newsletter about that
Oh, wow.
came out of our reading.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah.
And Storm loved that
Yeah.
newsletter. Yeah. Thank you, Ellen. I think it's so important to be able to understand other people, like you said, but also have a system of navigation that really understands our whole picture. And then
Yeah.
also not being able to see things in such a narrow view or take things so personally about what we're going through. Because if you
Right.
understand from this zoomed out perspective of the stars and your soul, you can understand, oh, I see why this
Hmm.
is, and this will too end, and there's an ending point
Right.
to this particular feeling of being stretched or being crunched or whatever that is going on. You can kind of have that bigger perspective of it.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. So Som, I want to come to you. Born in India, raised in Nottingham, UK, and now an American citizen, Som attributes her ability to connect with diverse audiences to her multicultural upbringing. She embraces her background as a strength that enables her to portray a wide range of characters. Since the age of 14, she has believed in the power of art to unite humanity, infusing love, light, humor into her work. How has art and performance expanded your capacity to feel and revealed something universal about our shared humanity? And you were sitting with this and you said, ah! And then I said, trust the wisdom that's going to come through. So where are you now with this question?
I've been fortunate enough to play so many complex characters in my career, from someone who's experiencing postpartum to someone who was domestically violent to a child. When I was playing the mother role, I wasn't a mother at the time, and I had to do tons of research on this thing that I had no clue about. But then delving into that, I was able to. It's so funny, a cousin of mine is actually going through postpartum now, and I can connect to her on a different level because there's a part of me that's actually experienced it as the actor. Now, of course, I won't really know what she's going through, but I feel an empathy that I never maybe had before. I had a similar experience. How do you play someone who is violent to a child? You've got children, you don't want to do that, yet the little girl experienced it by her parents who have gone through generational trauma. How do you do that? And then how do I connect to that person and play that person? That was one of the most challenging roles I played recently. It was this year. And at the same time, I witnessed a mother being violent to her child in a park. And it really triggered quite a lot for me. Even as I talk about it, I'm shaking because it was such a crazy time that I had been given this role to play, and then watching it happen and then seeing it happen on so many occasions, scarily. Going into that role, learning about her mental illness, what led her there, it created an empathy that I never had before I'd received that role or character to play. As I've been working out the answer to this question, I think the biggest thing is that by playing different characters and roles, it's allowed me to connect to other people and have a mindset that's constantly expanding and exploring and researching. And so therefore, when I meet other people, I'm more enlightened about certain things through the work that I've already done as an actor, and I'm able to connect to them that way.
When you're acting, your body does not know the difference. right? So your nervous system doesn't understand that you're not mentally challenged or emotionally challenged, or that you're not a violent person. So you're going through, you're playing out these human experiences, both sides. You get to be the perpetrator, you get to be the victim, you get to experience every human feeling and emotion and challenge through all of these roles that you've played. So I think the better question maybe is, how do you heal the body after you've continuously put yourself through that? And like someone who's, Julia and Robin doing performance after performance after performance, same with you, right? Like, so we have to have these ways that we're saying to the body, it's okay. I'm not, this is now I step out, right? So breath work, I know you've come and done that. What's your other favorite way to kind of say, it's okay, this isn't real now? I'm just curious.
This is again something I've actually had to really start exploring this year
Yeah.
because of the fact that I've noted when I'm playing certain characters or roles. Even 2 weeks ago, I was on a film set playing an older Indian woman who had to do fight choreography. That's the only way I can put it.
Yeah.
And my body was broken for a week after that.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm still learning, actually. I'm in this process right now, is how do I recover from doing this? And it's so funny because I'm starting to get to a point where I'm like, do I want to do this? Is this something I really want to keep doing? Because when I'm in it, I love it and enjoy it. But it's always funny that what happens afterwards,
Yeah.
I really don't love and enjoy. And I end up in this real kind of pit of, gosh, like emotional trauma maybe, like because I've been triggered so much by the roles that I'm playing. I then have to kind of work all that out.
Yeah.
One thing that I have really enjoyed this year as well through my work and has kind of been replenishing my soul is speaking to younger performers. And Robin spoke about the students that she's been working with, and Sarah, the people that you're coaching or working on. It's really interesting how that's actually been replenishing my soul a lot this year. It's been very uplifting to uplift others
Yeah. Give back in
and
that way to the
to,
youth. Yeah, it's
yeah,
beautiful.
and to give them the lessons that I've learned along the way. I had an actress ask me, so how do I play someone who's lost her mum when I haven't lost her mum? And she'd asked me that because I'd been through it. And it was really interesting because I was like, okay, what have you, like, what's the, she'd lost her dog recently.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the only way she could tap into it. And that's fine. I'm in the middle of it right now. I'm in the thick of it right now. So I'm learning how to protect myself, protect my energy, put boundaries around my empathy, not be too empathic, but be empathic, not give too much,
Yes,
but give,
yes.
uplift, but don't, and so I'm
Yes.
really,
Yes.
that's why I'm loving this right now. So
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. We all, even if we're not professional actors, are playing roles and wearing the masks. And like Dana said, wearing the titles and doing the thing and hyperachieving. And it's not really that different, is when we're serving other people in a role, whether it's like a leader of this or a leader of that, or whatever you're the leader of, as we're all leaders here, they're all roles that we're stepping into. It's not all of us when we step into that role, it's a piece of us. And then we get to come out and explore this other piece over here. We all have the ability to learn how to drop our masks, which you've all done today. Drop the labels, drop the masks, like, oh, hey, guess what? I don't have this figured out, but here's where I'm at with this. And not pretend like I made this Instagram thing last night, which was, I'm not here to know all the answers. I'm here to ask the questions that open the heart. I'm here to hold the space for what unfolds. I'm here to be the channel for this type of trauma to be expressed so we can shine a light on it and see it and go, ooh, look at that, and bring more understanding to humanity. Yeah. Julia, I'd like to come back to you. So classically trained musician, self-taught artist, yoga teacher, life coach, energy worker, and spiritual mentor. She has spent The past 25 years performing globally with artists including Brian Ferry, Roxy Music, Rod Stewart, and recently held her first art show in Los Angeles. She has the most incredible art.
Thank you, Siri.
By the way, Julia Thornton is not an accident. We are related through my husband.
Yes, Jake.
Yeah.
I think this theme of this year for a lot of us, and I'm getting this feeling from this panel too, is I've come away from this last 8 weeks of touring that I just had feeling like I actually cannot afford not to feel.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't feel everything, I will end up feeling nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've observed myself having to cope in the work situation that I've been in, sort of just numbing out.
Yeah.
And it comes back to this, I think it was a Brené Brown book I read years ago, and I remember her talking about when they put people with intense depression or anxiety, put them on a pill, they end up not feeling the joy either.
Mm-hmm.
And your heart is designed as this incredibly intelligent center of the body to experience all the colors, the whole spectrum. And when we refuse to go into the darker places, the shadow, the pain, the chaos, the confusion, the anger, the grief, we end up not feeling the joy, which I have experienced myself. I've been in and out of it over this summer because I just had to be, like you said, in a role. And this seems to be the theme of the day for the performers on the panel. This idea that we're under so much pressure to be a certain way and to put something out into the world. I'm at a transition at this point because my job right now, I work for a very mature artist. He seems to be going on forever. I don't think he's from this planet. Bless him. He's about to be 81. He's still like got so much energy, but it's going to end. And I've been with him for 13 years and I'm 53 and I know there's a change coming. And then I discovered a few years ago that I can paint. And I'm like, holy shit. And I immediately went, oh, this could be an income source. And I took away my play and my joy. And I put myself under pressure.
Yeah.
To create money from something that was a hobby. Because let's face it, when we end up doing what we love, it's a beautiful thing. But it always comes with a shit sandwich. I can't remember who said this, but they said, what flavor shit sandwich are you prepared to eat? Because
Mm-hmm.
whatever you do for a living, there's going to be shit in the middle of it somewhere. So like with performing, I get moments in a show where I get the gift of being able to do a solo and I can unleash and play. But after 53 shows, the same song, where do I take that? What do I do? How do I reinterpret what I've done a million times? How do I not get stuck in a groove? With painting, I've already got to that point where I have no technique. I don't know about color values, but relationships. But then I'll be painting and suddenly there'll be this pressure. There'll be this point of like, what am I doing? I fucked it up. How can I'm crap. I'm hopeless. I'll never be able to do it again. You know, so there's all this stuff that comes into play in essentially areas of our lives where we have to trust that it's not us that's doing the work. Something's coming through. And I feel like we have to stop getting in our own way. And that's, for me, honest to God, full transparency, that is a daily practice.
Yep.
And most days this year, I haven't got it right. Like, I feel like I want to trust the art process unfolding for me, but I'm terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody talked about, I think it was Dana talked about being brave. You can't be brave unless you're scared.
Yeah.
Bravery doesn't come from nothing.
Right.
Bravery comes from, I'm terrified, but I'm going to do it.
Yep.
So it's just all jumbled up in this bizarre kind of, clearly everybody here, like you said, Siri, is an overachiever at party. I mean, like so many women, we are amazing multitaskers. We have so many areas of expertise. And yet I'm finding myself at this point really asking, what is it that I need right now? What is it that I want to do? Some days I just want to sit and stare at the grass.
Yeah.
That's where I think in my podcast, Siri, like where I need to go when I've been on the road and I've slept in 20 hotel beds and had 20 hotel breakfasts and been at 20 venues. And I've been bizarrely with the same group of people, some of whom I love, some of whom I really struggle to like. And I just need to sit and not be anywhere and just stare at something that nature that helps me to see the natural process of the world. So I can come back to so I can really meet myself with myself. And when I get there, honest to God, I don't always like what I find. I feel like I'm a mess. Like I'm broken.
Yeah.
I literally got back from the summer tour. I was in bits.
Yeah.
I'm still in the process of putting myself back together again. So I think feeling deeply involves being aware of everything. Just feel everything.
Yeah.
And when you can, because I know this year's been so hard for everybody to feel, because there's just been so much going on. Where do you find the time to process and sit still? That's been really challenging.
Yeah.
I don't have the answers. I really don't.
Thank you, Julia, for your honesty.
You're welcome.
It's very liberating.
Yeah, it feels good to say it.
Feels good to hear it.
I don't
Because
know.
we don't feel so alone. You know?
Well, we're human. I mean, I think those people here on this panel are striving to grow, striving to expand, striving to learn.
Yep.
And some of us may be a little bit more ahead of the curve than others, but it's not a race.
No.
I think I read Paramahansa Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi. It says it takes us an average of 99 to 100 lifetimes to get one single lesson. We are slow learners, people. And if we've got all these lifetimes, what's the rush? We'll get it when we get it.
I love that.
And working with seemingly unconscious people is a really interesting, because you can so quickly go into judgment, like, oh, well, he's just not awake. And judgment, it's such an instant satisfaction judgment, isn't it? It's the easy way out. Rather than to sit with myself and process how that made me feel.
Yeah.
Which is an act of self-love, the ultimate act of self-love, I think.
Yeah.
And then that opens me up. If I've taken care of myself, perhaps then I can look back at this other human being who's behaving so badly and say, what's going on there? What's going on there? I mean, it's none of my business, but might help me access compassion, which might help me to do my job in a situation that right now I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Brings the compassion. Okay, so Marne is a holistic nutritionist and owner of Bastion, a health-focused restaurant in Portland. I love you, Julia. She seeks to make high-quality seasonal nutrient-dense food mainstream and accessible, while also offering education around holistic nutrition. She's also my partner in our Goddess of Light retreats. So, Marne, how can nourishing food help us hold more joy, more energy, more emotional capacity?
I feel like I need to speak directly to Julia, because when you said what you said, I raised my hand like, oh my God, like I feel you. And also, maybe food is a solution, at least in some capacities and sometimes. Because for me, when I think about food and like anything that we consume, like be it water or other beverages, food intake, like anything that we need to put in our bodies to sustain us and keep us alive, it can either be the greatest act of self-love and medicine, or it can be to our own detriment. The way I think of nutrition and nourishment, it's like they're kind of hand in hand. It doesn't even matter necessarily what we're eating, but the way that we're eating and who we're eating with. We do so much around food, so many gatherings and celebrations and time with our friends. Like you had just, Siri, you had said you had been at Bastion yesterday, and I got to see you, and that was lovely. And you spent 3 hours over a meal with a friend. And regardless of the food that you ate and what was in it, you gave yourself deep nourishment and nutrition just by sitting there and being in the moment and being present with your friend. Of course, it also happened to be super nutrient dense and delicious food, which was also beneficial to your physical body and your soul. To kind of speak to this theme of whether it's this year specifically or this lifetime as a whole, or just any deep and dark time that we might be going through, To me, I feel like nourishment is one of the possible solutions for how to regain our center and bring us back into the present moment and be amongst those people who we might be sharing a meal with. And nutrition is one of the best gifts that we can give ourselves because it keeps us healthy, it keeps us vibrant, it brings us true joy to eat delicious and nutrient dense food from the earth that its intention was to be grown for our consumption. And so when we're then consuming it and it's seasonal and delicious, it's a win-win for everybody in that way. And it's at its peak nutrient density, so then it provides the most nutrients to our body. So it's just the biggest bang for the buck if you're looking at seasonal food.
Marnay, can I ask you?
But yeah.
I want to eat at Bastion every single meal, but I can't. So what do I do when I'm tired or I'm burnt out or like it's just the end of the day and like, oh, okay, I'll just have a bowl of cereal, I guess, because I haven't had time to have dinner. What do I do?
Yeah, it's a really good question because it's one that everybody asks themselves. And, especially when you work and maybe you even have a partner and or kids who are also working and in school, and there's routines and structure that you somehow have to follow while also making food. It's really challenging. I can give quick tips and tricks, and then I can also speak from authenticity. Tips and tricks can look like pre-prepping some ingredients once or twice a week when you do
Right.
have time so that you can just throw things together. We do that at Bastion, where we have a full prep team who preps, breaks down vegetables, pre-roasts them, gets them about 75% of the way ready to eat so that then the line team can execute the food, finish heating it up and throwing it together so that that other 25% can be the finished product. So if you
Yeah.
do that in your own home on a weekend, or if you have one day of your work week that's a little bit lighter and just do a little bit of prep ahead of time, you can do that with vegetables, proteins, grains, beans, almost anything can be pre-prepped about 75% of the way. And then that other 25% is just heating it up and serving it.
Okay.
That's a quick thing, like casseroles and things where you just throw stuff into the oven, like a sheet pan meal is also another good idea. But then just to really truthfully speak from the heart, I don't eat dinner most of the time.
Sure.
I will usually, and this works for my schedule. This is not true for everybody, but biologically, our bodies don't do that very great with our largest meal being eaten at the end of the night. Like socially, it's what we do, and who knows why. But biologically, our bodies don't really love that. So because I get up early, I run a daytime restaurant. I'll get up early, have my coffee, get to work, and eat a pretty big meal at like 8 or 9. And that's usually my biggest meal of the day. And then I'll eat a slightly lighter meal around 2 or 3 p.m., which is maybe the other close to 50% of my calories come from those 2 meals.
Okay.
And then at 6 o'clock, I'll eat a snack.
Yeah.
And if I exercise or I didn't eat enough earlier in the day, it might be a slightly larger meal. Or
Okay.
if there's a celebration and I'm going out with friends or family, I'm not going to stress about eating a bigger meal. But in my day to day, dinner is not the biggest meal of the day.
Got it.
And honestly, that works well for our bodies. We're supposed to be eating more during the day than we are at night. And to speak to it socially, as families, we like to gather around dinner. As friends, we like to gather around dinner. And that's still possible. And you can have those rituals in your household without it being a big meal. And that way, you're not kind of killing yourselves trying to make a big dinner production happen between getting home from work and school pickups and sports and like all of the things that families end up doing and then trying to orchestrate this big thing at the end. You don't have to do that. You can break through those societal norms and say, maybe we're going to eat a big breakfast, or I'm going to send my kids a much larger lunch for their big meal of the day. And then we're just going to eat a small snack or reheat some leftovers or do something for dinner that's more casual, easier for us physically and easier for our bodies to digest, and just puts less pressure on us because, as we've all spoken to, we have so much pressure on us already as humans and as partners and as parents and as children of people who are aging, who are also in our lives. And if there's one area of pressure we can relieve on ourselves, it's the expectations we carry of ourselves. And if food can be one of those things, then let's relieve a little pressure.
Right.
Like having a little extra time in the morning and having a bigger meal for breakfast or lunch, for me, feels like an easier go than putting together this massive orchestra at the evening when we're already tired and we've been through a full day of activity.
Yeah. And it's so
But
much about tradition that's just passed on. It's like
yeah,
conditioning that we're not even really evaluating and looking at, like, does this work for me? Does this work for my family? Does this work for my body? Is this really what I'm needing? And finding those rhythms that are like actually working for you, not just because you should.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, nutrition comes down to a lot more than just the nutrients that you're putting in and how many calories and carbs and protein and fat sources we have. It really comes down to more of the soul nourishment and how do we achieve that? And are there ways that you can do that that break free from the societal norms?
Marne is an incredible human and obviously runs this amazing restaurant. And her history of how she's come to be the person she is, very rich, like all of us have, is on one of the more recent podcasts. So you guys can listen to that and listen to how she talks about her life and her food. And then we're going to be doing a follow-up episode where we talk even more about now and who she is and her mission and what our shared vision is together in the world of Goddess of Light and creating these really nutrient rich medicinal food experiences at our retreats, which people are just like, I mean, it's life changing. So, Jackie helps powerful women stop playing careful, ignite their unapologetic voice through human design, and build a globally magnetic brand that premium buyers can't ignore. So, Jackie, earlier we were talking about breath work and the labels dropping, the masks, and being transparent with our human selves in this kind of womb of unconditional love that we created today. I don't want you to have to feel performative in the answer of this question, but how does using our true voice, just in this moment of where you're at as a human, how does using our true voice expand what we allow ourselves to feel?
Using your true voice, in my opinion, is the ultimate expression of freedom because it's not just about what you have to say, but it's also about how you're living and whether you are lying to yourself or you're being truthful to yourself with your desires, with what you want in your life, with what you want in your business, with what you want in your relationships.
Yeah.
It goes so much further beyond business. I'm learning that lesson so much right now in my life, but it is like we oftentimes don't say what we want or go after what we want or do what we want, and we tolerate partnerships that aren't good for us, relationships that aren't good for us, prices that aren't good for us, going places that aren't good for us, because we are sweeping under the rug what we actually want to say, and we're lying to ourselves out of fear or out
Yes.
of fear of being judged or
Sure.
just being scared. Like what I think Julia said, if you're not scared, then it's not bravery. And I think being honest with ourselves about what we want in our life, in our business, in our relationships for our time in this lifetime is one of the most empowering, liberating, and freeing things that we can do. We can talk about money bringing freedom all day long, but I think true freedom begins when we are completely honest with ourselves in every aspect of life. And this is what finding your voice is all about.
It's so liberating and it's so scary at the same exact time. Being honest with ourselves, like you keep saying, it requires a bandwidth. And I think that bandwidth comes from the permission to
Yes.
feel all of it. The
Yeah.
joy and the fear and the sorrow and the grief, like we're talking about today, is like if you're numbing to it, it's a coping mechanism. But like when you create safe spaces and you come to breathwork or you do your journaling or slow down enough to eat a meal carefully, it's then we have these pockets or windows where we can actually start to feel safe enough to be honest with ourselves. I feel like that we have to create that safety first. Because you just say like, oh, we just need to be honest with ourselves. And I'm like, yeah, but that's so scary. Right. So how do you create the safety, Jackie? Like, what do you personally do to create the safety of, like, maybe there's one thing that it took you a lifetime to be honest about with yourself?
Yeah, for sure. I created the safety by getting to know myself and to love myself all over again after years
Yeah.
of not paying attention to that. This is why I use human design as a modality. Most people come to human design and they're like, I'm a generator, I'm a manifester, I'm a 3-4, I'm a 3-5. Fantastic. But then that's just like very surface level and it doesn't integrate. But what the system does is it shows you exactly the power that you have within you in its truest expression without the conditioning of the world and without the conditioning of society. So, reflector, amazing, Ellen. So it takes us back to this wholeness of who we are when we look at it objectively, not like we need to fit into it, not like it's a box, but if you want to have freedom in your voice and if you really want to live on purpose and live in desire, it requires loving yourself. It requires getting to know yourself again. And for me, that was the safe space. It was all of the other modalities are amazing, but for me personally, it has been the most empowering thing that I've ever done to say, you know what? Actually, these qualities where I'm going deeper, they really resonate with me. This is who I am. I cannot just listen to this. When I hear who I am, I feel it. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my power. I feel it in my energy. It's confirmation. It's like you said, it's the permission. That's what I'm made to follow. That's who I was made to be. And not because my human design says it, but because I can feel it when I read it. It lights something up inside of me, right? And that has been the safest space that I found. So honestly, just full permission to love myself as I am. That means that I love my real desires. I love my real choices. I love letting go of things that I've just been tolerating because they were there, they're supposed to be, or somebody else sees me that way. It's been the most empowering journey. And it's really allowed me to take human design and interpret it in a way for women that just goes beyond the basics. And it really gets into how to look at it through the lens of self-love and self-empowerment.
Yeah, I remember just the realizations of those. I love watching women the first time that they understand their human design and men because there's this aha, this revelation all through the body of, oh, wow, I can set down the judgment of the fact that I'm this way. And it's same with the astrology we were talking about earlier. Oh, there's this zoomed out perspective of it's okay that I operate in this way. And not only is it okay, but I can lean into it and I can use that type of energy to actually propel me forward towards my dreams and desires, like you're talking about.
Yes, exactly. And it shows you where you've been self-sacrificing and where you've been letting fear run the show because you actually have this powerful mission and you're like on the edge of should I jump? Should I jump? Well, yeah, you're meant to. You were made to.
I am emotional authority. So we're
Yes.
talking about feelings today. And my whole life, I thought that feelings were not logical and not, we were talking about earlier of like Wall Street being a place where you're not supposed to have feelings. Or if you're running a school like Dana used to do, like that's not a place where we're gonna like break down and start crying. So there's so many ways in which we've been conditioned, and human design talks so much about conditioning, right? And the unconditioning, the unraveling of like those societal norms and traditions and ways of being and what we've been told from our parents and teachers and blah. And it's like, oh wait, I actually can not only honor my emotions, but actually listen to them and let them inform my decisions and be the reason that I make certain decisions. Oh my goodness, what an altered way of operating.
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. It's like what you said. It gives you that power and that permission and it puts your perspective on who you are. It's like we spend so much time thinking there's something wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
We try to fix these things that make us unique. And
Yeah,
then we're even more confused.
yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing that. Anything else you want to share about expanding our capacity to feel and how your work has helped you or helped your clients to do that before we close out with Robin?
Yeah, I think expanding your capacity to feel reminds me, I have a background in fitness, and it reminds me of when you're lifting a weight and you're like, I have to go a little bit heavier or I'm not going to get anywhere. It's like, can I just stay in this moment of pleasure for a little bit longer? Or can I just stay in this moment of sadness for a little bit longer? Do I have
Right.
to distract with my phone? Does this feel so good that I don't think I deserve it, that I'm distracting that as well? It's on both ends of the spectrum. So how do you stay in
Yes.
that moment of what the emotion is and just be okay with I'm gonna stay here long,
Mm.
and that's how I'm gonna expand my capacity and show myself that there's nothing wrong with nothing bad is gonna happen if I feel really, really good. And also nothing bad is gonna happen if I allow myself to feel bad.
I love that. Yes. Especially we need to practice. Nothing's going to happen if I feel really, really good. Because we're pretty good at feeling bad.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, Robin, I want to circle back to you. Robin holds a BFA from the Juilliard School and an MFA from the Shakespeare Theater Company in DC, and she has been acting professionally for 33 years in theater, film, and television, opposite artists like Bill Murray, Kate Blanchett, Jeff Goldblum. She's been training actors for 20 years. She's the founder of the Cohen Acting Studio, coaching artists and speakers across mediums. I know we talked about this like complete shift in her life earlier. Robbins hosts the podcast that I have had the pleasure of being on called Thriving Artists, The Daily Joy Ride with Robin Cohen. And so our question here is, how has storytelling and acting, or honestly, Robin, whatever the fuck you want to talk about, taught you about the power of feeling fully?
Feel. You know, it's interesting that I'm an actor, that was part of the assignment here, because I transact in stepping into human emotions all over the spectrum. Actors get paid to be an instrument, well, to really be the whole orchestra, right, of emotions available to tap into this character or this role.
Yeah.
And live those truthfully under imaginary circumstances. By the way, I'm shooting a film this afternoon. I worked out the schedule. I told these people, this is not going to impinge on
You're
the
like,
Friday
I gotta
Wellness
do the
podcast.
authentic creative, okay?
I'm doing the authentic creative, and then we will
so
shoot
Bill
this
Murray
movie.
can wait.
They can all wait, right? But there's something about storytelling and bringing meaning into the world and waking people up and knocking them alive, just knocking them alive. Oh my gosh, my Mac is going to go to sleep. So I'm going to roll through this. The gist is, people, I've noticed, are affected in ways that are seismic through being the receiver of parable, metaphor, storytelling.
Yeah.
And it's like, for instance,
the Bible.
Actually, the Bible.
One thing I do want to say while Robin's charging up is a little bit more about the fact that in Mount Hood Village, Oregon, if you haven't been to the Pacific Northwest yet, I know Ellen has because she's here, and Marne and I are here. Jackie, I don't know if you've been, but and those listening, and Michaela, the Pacific Northwest has a special magic and healing energy to it. There are incredible waterfalls. There's 7 different climates here in the Pacific Northwest. And Mount Hood Village, Oregon specifically is an incredibly, incredibly foundationally magic place, just like, for example, Sedona, Arizona. So that in and of itself, that is our set and setting of this incredible transformation. A while ago, Robin said to us on a previous panel, we should all get together in a field somewhere. And I took her spark and I ran with it. And I started doing more Goddess of Light retreats where we're at the ocean. And I found a place where we can completely just unfurl and expand in the wilderness. And in the wilderness, by that, I mean, there's this gorgeous, huge, modern, beautiful Airbnb that fits 16 of us goddesses. So our team is there, like Marne and her team, and my team and all these other goddess leaders. And then we have the Sandy River where we can cleanse and cold plunge and take photos. We have a fire circle. We have a field where I am flying in singer musicians and bringing in these incredible life-changing artists that are going to sing to us privately. We have, of course, the breathwork that you guys experienced today, this transformational, life-changing breathwork that Marne, after she had for the first time, was like, what the fuck is this? I need this in my life. So now she's on board and we're creating these. It's sound baths to put us to bed. It is the leaders that you are, these high-achieving women who wear every single hat, where we get to, Marna and I are like, let's create the space that we need for ourselves, that we see so many other women need, where you get to come and not have to manage, fix, solve. You can completely, like we did today, just drop the mask and just be you. And just be in sisterhood and see each other and lift each other up like we've done today and like Robin does for me every day. We get to just be this medicine for each other, these soul sisters, and circle. and receive and be nourished by the medicine of Marnie's food. And so I'm really, 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 really completely focused and delighted and lit up by getting to serve women in this way. So because you're listening, this is for you, no accident. I invite you to get on the phone with me or talk to me or just click a button on the show notes and say, I'm coming, I'm worth it, I deserve this. I get to up-level my entire life and up-level my entire family and my entire community by nourishing and pausing and stopping and giving this to myself. Okay, Robin, I'm back to you. Close us out.
Everything you just said is really a segue into me echoing that in a way that speaks to what, for me, the whole game of being a creative and being in the arts and being in the world of acting and storytelling, Siri, it's an exercise in remembering to remember that we're not alone. And not only are we not alone, but to just complete this, we're surrounded and under the umbrella of this incredible, magical podcast, your retreats, your teaching, Siri, we're actually surrounded by gods and goddesses in every direction. So thank you for bringing us all together in such a way that we can not just look, but really see, not just hear, but really listen. This is a forum for that, and it's so rare and special. And I want to be in Zoom rooms and rooms like this and fields, wherever you are leading retreats with Marnie all over the globe. So thank you and
Robin, you
namaste.
better come to one of them.
And I adore you. Thank you.
Thank you. So here's a closing poem for our listeners. Beneath the flurry, there is stillness. Beneath the swirl, there is clarity. Beneath the noise, there is a dragon. The dragons of fear, the dragons of truth, the dragons of what we have kept hidden. We spend so much energy keeping the snow stirred up, afraid of what might surface if it settles. But when we allow the quiet, when we breathe all the way down, we discover the center. And at the center, there is fire. And that fire is not here to burn us down. It is here to remind us of our strength, our clarity, our capacity to feel. May we leave with hearts stretched wider, breathe, moving more freely, bodies remembering safety, and spirits remembering joy. To feel is to live. To feel is to love. To feel is to lead. So thank you, leaders that have shared today. Thank you for our extraordinary panelists, for your presence, for your heart, for your truths, for your vulnerability, for your transparency, for your wisdom. And thank you to everyone who has listened, for joining us today, for your openness, your willingness to feel, and may you carry this reminder forward that your capacity to feel is also your capacity to live and to love and to lead. I am loving you so much. Give yourself a breath. You did it. You listened or you showed up. Either way, you did both. Thank you for being here. You are a gem. And I love you and I appreciate you. Keep expanding your capacity to feel good and to feel one breath at a time. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Siri. We love you. We appreciate you. And we thank God for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah, to everybody.
Love you, Marnie.
Bye,
Love you,
Michaela. Bye,
Ellen.
Marnie. Bye,
Love you,
Ellen.
Michaela. Love you, Robin.
Siri. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.